For this tutorial we're going to have a look at some of the basic watercolor techniques. Before we get started, you may want to get my watercolor techniques sheet that's available. You'll need some watercolor paper or some mixed media paper. This one here has a weight of 224, something around that, just so your paper doesn't start bending with the watercolors once it's applied. You'll need some watercolors and two different brushes, one slightly thinner and a slightly thicker brush as well, so we can try the 4 different techniques. As you can see on the watercolor technique sheet, we've got the 4 different basic techniques that we're going to have a look at today, and then at the bottom there's some more advanced techniques that you might want to take away and practice and apply into your watercolor paintings. So the first one we're going to look at is our wet brush and dry paper. So this is probably one that we're mostly using if we're doing watercolor painting, the one that we're going to be most familiar with. So first of all, if we wet our brush and we get water into our watercolors, and then it's just applying strokes onto the page. Show our different techniques, and you can use different thickness of brush, allow you to do different patterns and designs on your page. Okay, so the second one we're going to look at is a dry brush and dry paper. So just make sure that your brush is nice and dry, just with a bit of tissue, and your watercolors are going to already have some water on them. But the paper must be dry along with your brush. So again, this is used for your finer details in your work, so you can be more precise. So if you get some watercolor onto your brush, it just allows you to produce some clearer lines, but nice detailed. You've got a lot of position. You can be very precise with this. And you can try different colors. Nice to do very detailed watercolor techniques. Okay, so the third technique that we're going to go for is having a dry brush and applying that to wet paper. So first of all, you're going to need to get some water onto your brush and apply it to an area of your page. So you want a fair amount of water so you can see that on your page, and then we will dry off our brush with our tissue again and choose your colour. I'm going to go for a nice red. Get that onto the brush, and then you can apply it onto the water, and you'll see that it gives this nice fading out effect where it follows where the water is. Now, it won't go outside of the lines of the water, so this makes it a really nice technique to do if you want to stay within the lines of a picture. So the paint will only go where the water has been spread onto your page. Again, you can also get the colours to start bleeding into each other if you do them close enough, if you want a different effect. You can try this if you draw different shapes on your page with the water, and then you can test this out. Different colours, just to make sure. This is good if you don't want defined edges. This technique looks very nice. And this time we're going to look at our wet brush onto wet paper. So again, apply some water onto your page and then make sure your brush is wet. You can choose your colour and then you can apply this onto your page. Now this is really good for doing gradients. Most commonly used one would be for things like your sunsets. So we can bleed them into each other and it will again flow down the page. But it will only stay where you've put the water. It won't go anywhere else apart from that. So these are the 4 basic techniques to get you started with watercolours. The best way to use them is to practice. Get yourself a picture that you can look at, like I've done on here. We had a nice red poppy, and then I've just copied it with watercolours, and I've tried to apply the 4 basic techniques within that to get the finished product.